What's going on, everybody? Esri Rozier here. I really like what I've seen from this team since we suffered our only loss of the season against Washington on Monday night. You had the Indianapolis Colts game where we played 3 quarters of horrendous football, getting gashed by Jonathan Taylor early, the strip sack on Jalen Hurts to open up the second half, A.J. Brown's fumble in the fourth quarter. But then you saw that team wake up in the fourth quarter. You saw that team overcome all the adversity they had basically faced up to that point through the 3 quarters and just overcome that in the fourth quarter. Between the Quez Watkins play, the touchdown to begin our comeback, and then Jalen Hurts running for a touchdown late in the game to put us up 17-16. He started dancing in front of the Indianapolis Colts mascot, who was green for some reason. He's usually blue. I mean, that's his name, Blue. Although that might have been a tribute to the military because it was in November, Military Appreciation Month. You had Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick making crucial stops in that game. The Indianapolis Colts game really showed that this team can overcome some of the worst, just horrible, stagnating offense and just terrible team play and still come out with a win. They could still come out with a win after a terrible start, after 3 quarters of just horrible play. You had the Green Bay Packers game where Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders absolutely ran over the Cheeseheads. Jalen Hurts finished with 157 yards in that game, rushing. 157 yards rushing. And he had 100 in the first quarter. In the first quarter alone, Jalen Hurts had 102 rushing yards. And his total 157 rushing yards, that is actually the most for an Eagles quarterback in franchise history when it comes to a single game. And in NFL history, I believe that he ranks fifth all time. I think so. The people in front of him, I believe, are Lamar Jackson, Colin Kaepernick twice, and Justin Fields. So, and then there's Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders finished with 143 yards of his own rushing, and he had 95 after contact. 95 yards came after he was hit, after the Green Bay Packers tried to tackle him. Just total dominance by the Eagles' ground game against Green Bay. But of course, that game was notable for a scary moment, a sad moment for us, where C.J. Gardner Johnson suffered a big hit on fourth down, and he suffered a lacerated kidney. So we will be missing him for a few more weeks. But in the absence of C.J. Gardner Johnson, up came arose a player who I raved about in preseason, a player named Reed Blankenship. Reed Blankenship on his first target intercepts Aaron Rodgers, undercuts the receiver, comes right through and intercepts Aaron Rodgers on his first NFL target. That's amazing. Like, and against Aaron Rodgers? Against Aaron Rodgers? So Aaron Rodgers, he's known for throwing very few interceptions. He has one of the lowest interception rates in NFL history. Although this year Aaron Rodgers has not played well, to put it bluntly. But he did get a win against the Bears, a very huge comeback win against the Bears, who he continues to own. I own you. I still own you. Yeah, so I really like what I've seen. And then you have the Tennessee Titans game. A.J. Brown's revenge against his old team. And boy, oh boy, did he get it. So A.J. Brown finished this game against the Titans with 119 yards on 8 receptions for 2 touchdowns. 8 receptions, 119 yards, 2 touchdowns. The first touchdown was so wide open. I was thinking, like, how did he get this wide open? How did A.J. Brown get that wide open on that touchdown? There was a flag thrown on that play, but it appeared to be against the Tennessee Titans defense, so that's good. But he was so wide open on that play. I'm wondering what happened. And then they showed a replay. A.J. Brown ran over that Titans defender, made him look silly, And then the second A.J. Brown touchdown, so Jalen Hurts throws a beautiful pass. And then the coverage on A.J. Brown is amazing. It's like the dude is hugging A.J. Brown, but it's good coverage. It's not a penalty. It's not pass interference. And A.J. Brown still comes up with the ball. It reminds me of the play against the Detroit Lions in week 1 where he caught a ball in heavy coverage and traffic. That play was beautiful. A.J. Brown, he gave the Tennessee Titans the business. They traded him away, and he made them pay. He didn't want to get traded away either. A.J. Brown, he wanted to stay with the Tennessee Titans, but they did not want to pay him. Mike Vrabel wanted A.J. Brown to stay with the Titans, but the Titans GM apparently had different ideas. And speaking of the Titans GM, so the GM of the Tennessee Titans, he gets fired a few days after that game. Imagine that. So you trade away A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles. A.J. Brown and the Philadelphia Eagles absolutely destroyed the Tennessee Titans 35-10. And then the GM who decided it was a good idea to trade A.J. Brown gets fired right afterwards. A.J. Brown is out here getting grown men fired. A.J. Brown is out here getting general managers fired. I'm telling you, nobody can convince me that that firing didn't have anything to do with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown had a role in that man's firing, and nobody could tell me otherwise. Nobody could tell me otherwise. Now I want to get to the defense in the Tennessee Titans game because you had Derrick Henry, who a lot of people were scared of because he's the best running back in the league, in my opinion. But here's what I was saying. I was saying this on Facebook. I wasn't too worried about Derrick Henry. I'm going to go back to the Indianapolis Colts game. So on the opening possession, Jonathan Taylor gashed us for 49 yards. 49 yards on the first possession alone. On the Colts opening drive, Jonathan Taylor ran for 49 yards. Did you know what he had for the rest of the game? After that opening possession, the Eagles forced Jonathan Taylor to only 35 yards. 35 yards for the rest of that game. He finished with 84 yards. Jalen Hurts had more rushing yards than Jonathan Taylor. He had 49 yards on the opening drive, Jonathan Taylor, and then for the rest of the game, he only had 35 yards. We really bottled up Jonathan Taylor. We destroyed the run after that opening possession. We really stacked up against the run and we stopped them. We contained Jonathan Taylor, who is a very potent running back. This year hasn't been as great as last year where he led the league in rushing, but he is still a running back that can put the hurt on you. Ask the Las Vegas Raiders, who played the Colts before us the previous week. Jonathan Taylor shredded them in Las Vegas. Jonathan Taylor shredded the Raiders. And we held him to just 35 yards after the opening possession, with him finishing with 84 yards. That really showed me that we could stop the run. After the Our run defense has been such a big problem so much of this season. The Detroit Lions game in week 1, the second half of the Cowboys game. Then you had the Tennessee, well, no, not Tennessee. You had the Houston Texans game. Damon Pierce really tore us up. And then, of course, the loss against Washington where Brian Robinson, and then that other running back, Antonio Gibson, were doing a number on us. You had the Philadelphia Eagles contain the run against the Indianapolis Colts, shutting down Jonathan Taylor after he destroyed us on the opening drive. So because of all that, I was saying heading into this Tennessee Titans game, I wasn't too worried about Derrick Henry because I've seen how the Eagles can play to run. I've seen us step up against an explosive running back in Jonathan Taylor. And guess how many yards Derrick Henry had against the Philadelphia Eagles? Guess. Derrick Henry only had 30 yards for the entire game. 30 yards for the entire game. We shut down King Henry to 30 yards for the game. This run defense that a lot of people complain about, myself included, had shut down Derrick Henry, a man known for just getting stronger as the game goes on, for just wearing down defenses as the game continues. We shut that man down to 30 yards. That's amazing. That was incredible defense by the Philadelphia Eagles. You really got to give props to Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon's defense has really stepped up. I mean, the Green Bay game, we gave up 33 points. We gave up 33 points, but you could argue some of those Packer points came in garbage time. You could argue that. We weren't as great against the run against Green Bay. We weren't as good as against the run, but Jonathan Gannon's defense, he has delivered over the past few weeks. Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, those two guys were shut down. The defensive line is really coming up clutch in these last few games. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph, Josh Sweat. Like this defensive line, they're stepping up. How many sacks did we have against the Tennessee Titans? I think we sacked Ryan Tannehill like 5 times. 5 times, I believe. And then you had the hit on Treylon Burks in the end zone after he caught the Titans' first touchdown to tie the game. I believe it was Marcus Epps who made that hit. He didn't return to the game afterwards, I believe. I think he was out for the rest of that game. The Eagles are 3-0 since our last loss against Washington. And so now we're about to begin a stretch of 3 straight road games at Chicago Bears. Let me start that over again. We're about to begin a stretch of 3 straight road games at New York Giants, at Chicago Bears, at Dallas Cowboys on Christmas Eve. 3 straight road games. 3 straight road games. Now, here's a fun fact. The Eagles are actually 5-0 on the road this year. We are undefeated on the road, 5-0. So we got this, guys. We got this. We can do this. Now the Giants are suffering a lot of injuries. They have fallen down to earth after a strong 7-2 start to the season. They've gone 1-3-1. Yes, a tie is included there. They had a tie against Washington last Sunday in a game that was very bizarre, let me tell you. Yeah, this team they've collapsed kind of lately. Well, collapse might be too strong of a word, but the Giants they have kind of regressed over these past few weeks, 7-2, and then going 1-3-1 in these last few games. So the Giants actually have a bunch of injuries heading into this game. They have a bunch of injuries, and most notably, Saquon Barkley is doubtful to play in this game. I believe because of a neck issue, like a neck concern. So Eagles Giants games tend to be very close. Some of our tightest games, some of our closest games tend to be played against the New York Giants because that's just the nature of that rivalry. The Eagles and Giants, they are very gritty teams and they just really love to just pound each other, really love to just give each other like a hard time. Like don't let them get away with the game. Don't let them distance themselves too much. Keep games close, keep things very tightly contested. So but if Saquon Barkley doesn't play, this game can get very ugly for the New York Giants because that's still the part of our defense that I think is our weaker component. I think we're weaker against the run than the pass. Now, I did go on earlier saying how our run defense has improved, so I'm not too worried about Saquon Barkley, but he is the point of concern if he does play when it comes to the Giants offense. Daniel Jones so here's the thing about Daniel Jones. My biggest concern about Daniel Jones is containing him in the pocket because we all know that Daniel Jones, he likes to use his legs. He is a running quarterback. He's a scramble quarterback. And the first big example was most famously against us. He showed it off for the first time against us, the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a Thursday night game in 2020 where he ran for 80 yards on one play. He ran 80 yards, and the man tripped when nobody was going to catch him. Daniel Jones ran 80 yards and tripped when he had a wide open touchdown waiting. An open touchdown waiting. He trips over his own feet. It might have been because he was running too fast. He ran like 21 miles per hour on that play at peak. So Daniel Jones, he's got some speed. He is a fast runner, but the guy likes to use his legs. So the defensive line, who I raved about earlier, coming up big in these last few games, you have to contain Daniel Jones in the pocket. Don't let him break containment. Don't let him run. He will run on you because even though I think he is all right as a passer, it's really his legs. His legs are what do the most damage, in my opinion. And another thing, so Daniel Jones, he is a quarterback that I believe you have to force turnovers off of. He is a very turnover prone quarterback, especially with the fumbles. He won't always throw interceptions, but that man, Daniel Jones, he knows how to lose a fumble. He knows how to lose a fumble. So I believe that the defensive line, if you get two turnovers off Daniel Jones in this game, we win. We win this game. If you could get two turnovers off Daniel Jones, we will win this game. And you can do it, man. This defensive line, all those pieces that I went over earlier, you can make those plays. You can make Daniel Jones uncomfortable. You know that he is a fumble waiting to happen. Daniel Jones is a fumble just waiting to happen. He is a turnover that is just coming up at any given second. Daniel Jones, he is very prone to turning over the ball. And I want us to force these turnovers off Daniel Jones. Last year against the Giants, oh God. So that Giants game last year, Jalen Hurts played arguably the worst game of his career, three interceptions. But you know what? When that game mattered the most in the final moments, he still gave us a chance to win that game twice. And then a certain player who is no longer on this team by the name of Jalen Rager decides to drop two touchdown passes. He drops two touchdown passes. In that game, I don't think we had a single turnover off Daniel Jones. I don't think we had a single turnover. In fact, so these last two road games against the Giants, we have not fared well at MetLife Stadium. The Giants are 2-0 against the Eagles at MetLife Stadium since 2020. We have not won at MetLife Stadium against the Giants since 2019, the final game of the season where we clinched a playoff berth in the NFC East. Like the Giants, they've had our number at this stadium lately. We have not played well at MetLife Stadium. So we need to step up because MetLife Stadium, that's basically it. historically, it's been our second home after the Link. After Lincoln Financial Field, the Eagles have, I believe they have 8 wins at MetLife Stadium, our second most wins at any stadium, any active stadium in the NFL. So we need to step up. This used to be a place that we could get a win every year. Step up, guys. Step up. Take this win at MetLife Stadium. So you know what? If Saquon Barkley's out, then that's unfortunate for the Giants, but injuries are a part of football. You just got to have a next man up mentality. Look at us with C.J. Gardner-Johnson injury. Reed Blankenship is filling in very nicely, I might add. Very, very nicely. So you got to get pressure on Daniel Jones. As usual, my concern isn't the offense. I believe Jalen Hurts is going to have a great game in contrast to last year. It's the defense. Can we contain Daniel Jones? Can we stop Darius Slayton? Can we keep Saquon Barkley if he plays contained? I mean, you've seen the run defense, how we fared against the Colts and Titans. The potential is there. We can stop the run, but it's the consistency. We haven't been consistently stopping the run this year. You've had games like the Houston Texans game, Damon Pierce, the Detroit Lions game, season opener, Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. It's the consistency. Will we be consistent? So if you win these next 3 games, you win the division. Even if Dallas runs the table leading up to us. So the Cowboys, after this game against the Colts they had where they exploded in the fourth quarter, they have the Texans at home and the Jaguars on the road. In all likelihood, Dallas is going to win those 2 games. They're going to win those 2 games. So this game against the New York Giants, it begins a crucial stretch for us. The Giants, the Bears, the Cowboys. If you win three of these games, if you win all 3 of those games, you clinch the division, no matter what Dallas does. Just keep winning, guys. We're 11-1. This has been a very great season, but this is a crucial point in the year where we have to keep stacking up these wins and keep distancing ourselves away from the Cowboys. So take care, everybody, and go Birds.